Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive. This time we're trekking through Tolkien's Fellowship of the Ring, revisiting some early chapters that, even for a seasoned Tolkien fan, hold some hidden depths just waiting to be uncovered.
And it's amazing how Tolkien could pack so much into even seemingly simple details like the Shire calendar.
Right, it's not just about marking time for them, is it?
Not at all. Dating it from their migration across the Brandywine. That's their year one. It's less about numbers, more about remembering that journey, that connection to the land.
Like their own Plymouth Rock, almost. A foundation story built right into how they track the year.
Exactly. A constant reminder of where they come from, their identity. But speaking of origins, that excerpt about Gollum, Bilbo finding the ring, Tolkien makes luck a big part of that, doesn't he?
Oh, absolutely. That chance meeting in the Goblin tunnels, if Bilbo hadn't gone that way.
Everything changes. That encounter sets the stage for, well, for everything that follows. But then he throws in that hint about hobbits and Gollum's kind having a deeper connection.
Like Tolkien knew more than he was letting on back in The Hobbit.
Exactly. It's like he's dangling a thread leading to mysteries even beyond the Lord of the Rings. What secrets of Middle-earth are still out there? What did Tolkien know about their shared history? Fascinating.
Makes you want to go digging for answers, doesn't it? But before we get lost in goblin tunnels ourselves, we've got to talk about the Gaffer. Oh man, that excerpt where he just does not believe half of Bilbo's stories. I mean, who hasn't been there?
It's so human, isn't it? To hold on to the familiar, to dismiss anything too outlandish, even when it's right there in front of you. Poor Frodo, his whole world is about to get turned upside down way more than the Gaffer could ever imagine.
Makes you wonder what the Gaffer's reaction would be if he knew even half of it.
Yeah.
But while Tolkien always said there's no direct allegory in his work, you got to admit some pretty big themes come through in Frodo's journey, right?
No question. Facing overwhelming odds, the corrupting nature of power, these resonate deeply. They're part of the human experience, really. It's part of why Tolkien's work continues to resonate. It speaks to something deeper.
Speaking of which, let's not forget that classic scene, Bilbo's farewell party. Leave it to hobbits to turn a potentially somber occasion into a massive feast.
It's really a testament to their spirit, isn't it? That love of good company, good food, good cheer. They celebrate life, even in the face of uncertainty.
Oh, absolutely. But then Tolkien hits us with that more melancholic part where Frodo almost wishes he had gone with Bilbo. It's such a relatable feeling, that what if? The yearning for adventure, but also the fear of the unknown. We've all been there.
And it's such a clever bit of foreshadowing, too, don't you think? That bittersweet mix of excitement and apprehension, it subtly hints at the burden Frodo's about to carry. Anyone facing a life-changing journey can understand that feeling.
Oh, for sure. And speaking of life-changing, Gandalf finally shows up a little late, as always. Suddenly the Shire doesn't seem quite so carefree anymore. He brings the gravity that changes everything.
And that, I think, is where Frodo's hobbit hole truly starts to feel too small. He can no longer ignore the wider world and the dangers it holds.
Picking up where we left off. Those Shire borders can't contain the story for long, can they?
Not a chance. Once Frodo sets foot on that road with the ring, the Shire starts to feel very, very far away. And the dangers, they get very real, very quickly.
And speaking of real, that encounter with the Black Riders at Weathertop, Tolkien doesn't hold back on the darkness there, does he?
It's brutal, no other word for it. And it shows us the insidious way the ring works. Even while Frodo's fighting for his life, it's whispering to him, offering a way out, but at what a cost.
Right. And then that question just pops out, why can't I see the other rings?
Mm-hmm.
Seems simple, but...
But it opens up this huge idea that there's so much going on behind the scenes, a web of power we only get glimpses of. The ring isolates. It blinds you to that bigger picture while promising you strength.
Talk about a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Makes you appreciate how they even made it to Tom Bombadil's at all.
What a shift in tone, eh? From near-death experience, too. The warmth, the joy, Tom singing to his ponies. It's like Tolkien's reminding us that light, even in a world facing shadow, still exists.
And you got to wonder about Bombadil. What's his deal? This is a guy who doesn't just defeat evil, he practically waltzes with it.
He's one of the biggest head-scratchers Tolkien ever wrote, like on a different level of existence altogether. Ancient power, tied to the land itself. Remember that bit about Old Man Willow? They're practically chums.
And speaking of that Willow encounter, intense. If it weren't for Tom, that could have been game over right there.
Exactly. Don't let the singing fool you. Tom is a force to be reckoned with. Protector of the old forest, even the ring wraiths give him a wide berth. But then You've got the Barrowite to deal with, straight out of a nightmare.
No kidding. And Tolkien uses all that treasure, that greed it inspires.
Yeah.
Kind of a mirror to the wing, isn't it? All that glitters.
It's not gold. More like, might be cursed, handle with extreme caution. But again, Tom into the rescue. It's not long after that we get that first real encounter with the riders at the crossroads, though.
Talk about a mood swing. One minute you're having tea with Tom, next you're feeling those bad vibes rolling in.
Back to reality, right? No more leisurely strolls. The enemy is playing for keeps now. And Bree, the prancing pony seems cozy, but
But something's off, isn't it? Even before the riders show up, there's that tension.
Tolkien builds it so well. The Southerner, Bill Ferny, you get the sense Bree's not as safe as it seems. And then Strider enters the scene. What an entrance.
Like something out of a song itself.
It's a turning point, really. Strider, Aragorn. He represents hope, lineage, someone who might actually stand against the darkness. But his presence, it also ups the stakes, right? Now Sauron really knows they're out there.
And poor Butterbur. Forgetting that letter. Talk about a near miss.
It's brilliant, though. Tolkien takes something so small, so human, and makes it crucial. In a world of magic, even forgetting a letter can have huge consequences.
And speaking of consequences, Frodo putting on the ring.
Desperation makes you do things you wouldn't normally consider, eh? Shows the ring's power, it preys on vulnerability.
And then, wham, Black Rider attack. Frodo's injured, they're on the run. Welcome to the far side of the Shire.
But even here, you see the strength of those with Frodo. Strider's knowledge, his loyalty. That's what gives them a chance, that flight to Rivendell. It's more than just running, it's what makes them who they need to be.
And finally, Rivendell. It's like exhaling after holding your breath for too long.
Sanctuary. Ancient power, wisdom. A place to regroup. But it's not just about resting up, is it? The real work is just beginning.
Rivendell. It's almost like you can hear the music just saying the name, right?
Yeah.
Peaceful. But after that escape from Moria, they need more than just a rest stop.
Oh, it's way more than that. This is where the whole fate of Middle-earth starts to hinge, really. The Council of Elrond. It's not just a meeting. It's practically every leader of the Free Peoples realizing, okay, this is IT.
You've got dwarves, elves, men, Gimli sitting down with Legolas. Talk about putting differences aside when the world's on the line.
And right in the middle of it all, Frodo. One hobbit, carrying the weight of, well, everything. But Tolkien's great about showing us Frodo's doubt, his fear. He's not some hero stomping around. He's relatable.
Makes it hit harder when the truth of the ring comes out, doesn't it? I mean, Gandalf's recounting of being held by Saruman gives me chills every time. This is one of the wisest beings in Middle-earth. And even H.E. almost fell to the ring.
No one is immune. That's the terrifying part. You said it, ambition, a little desire for power. The ring twists it. Makes it ugly, destructive.
So what do you do with that? They actually think about just giving it to Tom Bombadil for a bit.
Right. Seems logical. The guy's basically immune. But as we talked about before, Bombadil's power is different. He might just misplace it, not even get why it's a big deal, can't risk that.
Leaving them with the worst option, destroy it. But that means Mordor. And who in their right mind?
Even Bilbo volunteers to go back. Breaks your heart a bit, doesn't it? To see him willing to shoulder that burden again.
Shows his character, right? But Gandalf's right. Bilbo's part in this story, it's done. Time for Frodo to step up. Terrifying as that is.
And he does. Quietly. No fanfare. Just, I'll do it. The weight of that decision. And then what's amazing, they don't make him go alone.
The Fellowship forms. Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli, even Boromir, who's got his own baggage with this whole thing. It's like, for a moment, everyone's putting aside their differences, their own goals, because the stakes are that high.
It's a beautiful moment, isn't it? A reminder that even in the darkest times, unity is possible. But as they leave Rivendell, there's that shadow hanging over everything. They're marching towards danger, and they know it.
And boy, does Tolkien waste no time. The misty mountains, the Caradhras blizzard, it's like even nature itself is testing them.
And then Moria. From Rivendell, all light and air, to those echoing dark tunnels. You can practically feel the mood change when they go through those doors.
And that feeling when Gandalf falls, fighting the Balrog. I mean, yeah, we know he comes back. But in that moment, it's devastating.
Tolkien makes you feel the loss, doesn't he? Gandalf, their guide, their hope gone. It reminds us that even in Middle-earth, actions have consequences. Sometimes there's no coming back. And their journey, it only gets tougher from there.
Fleeing Moria, the beauty but sorrow of Lothlorien, and then the breaking of the Fellowship. It feels inevitable almost, doesn't it? It's like all that tension had to snap somewhere.
And with that, dear listener, we've reached the end of our deep dive. From the peaceful Shire, through the dangers of the road, to the breaking of the fellowship. We've witnessed Frodo's growth, the strength of friendship, and the very real cost of fighting for what's right. May your own paths be a little less perilous, but just as full of wonder.